Okay. Hi everyone, how are you all? Hopefully the weather is nice for you guys as well too. Today was a very nice day. Well,
Yes,
we will
no
continue
snow
on.
here.
Oh, it was not. It was
Oh,
12 degrees for us today in Hamilton. Very nice here. So we're just going to give some general tax information, not necessarily just for newcomers, but for individuals in general, just to give you an idea of what you can expect when filing. So, sorry, Mike, we'll continue on with the slides. Okay, we'll go to the next one. So just general information, our obligations, we have to, report all sources of income as well. We should be reporting property outside of Canada too, but in some situations we should and not necessarily in other situations. But we'll continue on with that. It all depends on each individual as well too. We'll go to the next one, Mike. So these here is what we classify the individual for tax purposes. So in most situations, it'll be just a newcomer filing. We'll just classify you as an immigrant for the first year. And the first one, the resident, deemed non-resident and non-resident in Canada. If you're in Canada for 183 days 183 days or less, there are certain reportings that we may have to file additional forms. But in most situations, that won't apply to you guys. We'll go to the next one, Mike. So you can see the tax rates for 2023 and then from the previous year. So we have a progressive tax system. Basically, the more you earn, the higher percentage you'll have to pay. You can see that they increase a little bit each year with the inflation, but not too much. Federal rates will be a little higher. For example, so the first bracket for the provincial is 0 to 45,000, whereas for federal it'll be about 0 to 50,000. Each province will have their own amounts as well too. Next. So these are different types of income that we may have. Employment income from your job, including any tips. So tips, CRA, they expect us to keep track of our tips as well too and record them separately. Sometimes the employers will keep track of it and then report to you. So there's also times where CRA, they will audit restaurants, not necessarily to see if their books are in order, but to see the tips for the individual. So they could look over that as well too. So we just have self-employed income, including commissions. If you're fully commission based, you may receive a slip from your employer. It'll show the self-employed commissions. As well too, if you're just have regular employment income, you may receive commission as well too, and then they'll report that amount separately. So you may have foreign income as well too. If, for example, if you have to work in the States, you'd have to report that income. We have a tax treaty with the States. So therefore, you would file your US return first. We would see how much you would owe in the States, and then you get a credit to help offset any amounts paid in Canada. This way, there's no double taxation. We have EI for employment insurance. If you're off work, unfortunately, you'll still have to claim this type of income, even though we pay into it on a regular basis. So investments, you'll have mainly interest and dividends. These will be reported on T5 and T3 slips. You may also have foreign investments as well too, foreign interest and foreign dividends, depending on what you're invested in. Well, next. So these are the main credits that we can claim. Medical expenses. So I can't really list all of them. There are so many. CRA will have a list on their site, but the main ones that we have, your prescriptions, dental, glasses, chiropractor, massage therapy. Those are the main ones that I usually see. Each province will have certain expenses that one can claim and another can. That's why you have to refer to CRA site to see certain things if you're eligible to claim. So childcare expenses, including daycare fees, as well too. If you have your kids in summer camps, we can claim an amount for those as well too. If you have a babysitter, it can be sometimes more tricky with a babysitter because what CRA would want, they would want us to have the SIN number of the babysitter plus all the information. So unfortunately, not all babysitters are willing to provide you with their information like that. So previously, when I used to work for H&R Block, sometimes they would give me the individual's name. They would call the individual, and then I would ask them. They would give me the SIN number over the phone. So next for the tuition fees, it'll be reported on a T2202. And then, sorry, any fees that you have to claim it in the year that you actually attended. Other fees that you may claim, there may be something, let's say you have to be certified for an examination fee. You can claim those as well too. So moving expenses, I've had many people ask if you can claim your expenses to having to move here to Canada. Unfortunately, you cannot claim those expenses. When we talk about moving expenses, you have to move for either like within the country for work or for school. You have to move at least 40 kilometers. So for if you move for school, unfortunately, the only income that you can put against it would be if you have any scholarships, but those are usually non-taxable. But if you move for work, you can claim the income that you earn from that job. Now, when we claim the moving expenses, we calculate the kilometers based on the previous home to new workplace or to the new home. You have RSPs is one type of investment. Now, unfortunately, for the first year, you can't necessarily claim any RSPs because the amount that we can put in is based on our income from the previous year. But since you have no income from Canada, your deduction limit for the first year is 0. So therefore, it's better to wait until the second year to actually start contributing. Next one, Mike. So these are the main types of slips that you'll receive. So the employment income, your T4 from your employer. Sometimes they may report on a T4A slip, which is usually for other income and pension income and annuity income. So from your investments, T3 and T5, those are the main ones. Now gifts are generally non-taxable, but they've talked a lot lately, putting into legislation, if you receive like a gift card from your employer, they may consider that a benefit to you, which is therefore considered taxable by the government. But we're still waiting to hear like what they're going to do about that. So the medical expenses, again, it's received from practitioners. So for example, let's say you had to get a doctor's note for work to go back. You could consider that a medical expense as well too. There's also other forms that sometimes have to be filled out. If your doctor charges a fee, then we can also claim those types of expenses. So the childcare expenses, I elaborated on it previously. Now donations as well too. So people have also asked me about foreign donations. Unfortunately, you can't claim foreign donations because if you log into CRA site, they will have all the listed donors on their site. So if you're unsure, let's say you get a call from somebody asking you to donate, if you want to verify that that is real, then you can go online to CRA to check the name. So also as well too, I'm not sure like if you guys go to church, we can also claim those donations as well too. Now last year I had an issue with an individual. So they said that they couldn't claim their donations because they weren't a registered parishioner with the church. So I talked to one of my clients here, and then he explained more to me. He said you have to be registered with the church first in order for them to issue you a receipt. So it's best for you also to confirm with your church that you are on record with them. Now, also with donations, the thing I like, so with donations, you get a credit of about 20% on the first $200. Anything above 200, we get a credit of about 40%. And now if you can't use your donations this year, it can also be carried forward for up to 5 years. So for spouses, for medical expenses and donations, it doesn't matter if it's in your name or your spouse's name, we always claim under one individual to get the highest benefit. So for the tuition fees, they'll issue the tuition again on the T2202. Again, it must be claimed as in the year that you attended the school. So some people will say to me, like let's say if you arrived if you arrived for January intake, but you paid your tuition in 2023, you can't actually claim anything until 2024 when you officially attended. So because many people will say to me, well, I paid this amount, I should be able to claim it all. But unfortunately, that's how it works for those purposes. As well, too, regarding your tuition, the amount that you paid, it'll be different than what's reported on your tuition slip because some amounts are eligible to be deducted and some amounts are uneligible. But the school will take care of all those amounts. Because for example, like when I was in school, like my college, they had a benefit plan for individuals who didn't have any coverage. So it would be included in the tuition, but reported separate. So you'd have to go through your summary to see how much that was specifically. And then years ago, we also used to be able to claim bus passes. That was also one of the fees included in my tuition when I was in school. But again, we had to see what the amount was and report it separately on a different law. Sorry, Mike, next slide. So these are just some key dates to remember. So the earliest that we can start to file will be February 19th. Right now, CRA, they're just updating their system for maintenance, therefore we can't send in anything beforehand. So April 30th will be the filing deadline unless it's on a weekend or a holiday. Therefore, it's the following business day. Now, in regards to filing by April 30th, if you don't owe money, then there's no penalty or interest, but it's still best to file on time just to ensure that everything's up to date with it with benefits reporting. And then also the payment date, it should be by April 30th as well too, or the following business day. So sorry for the penalty, if you do file, like if you don't file on time, they'll charge you a penalty of 5% on anything you owe. If you have multiple years that aren't filed and you owe each of those years, then they'll charge 10% or more on the following years. I had somebody one year where I filed 2 years for him. He ended up owing over 2,000 for each year. So in total, they charged him another, it was about 500 to 600 just in penalties and interest. So I would say it's most important for us to file on time, especially if we owe money. Some people, they they don't want to file because they owe money they can't pay. But again, it's best to file on time to avoid these extra amounts. And then you can contact CRA to work out a payment plan. Those are usually our best options. Next. So these are just different methods in order for us to file our returns. So you have a net file certified software. For example, you have TurboTax, Simple. You file, those are the main ones. But again, you can go to CRA site and they'll have which ones are listed. So through a tax preparer like myself, I use e-file software, which means I can do unlimited number of returns. Whereas with a net file, CR limits, they limit 20 returns per household. There's also, other clinics in your area that will also help you out. You can also go onto CRA site and they'll have a list of those clinics. And then our last option is to fill it out by hand and then mail it in. There will be some situations where CRA, they won't allow the individual to, there might be some errors. They won't allow them to file it electronically. Therefore, they will have no choice but to send the return by mail. Also, too, if depending on how old the tax is that we're sending in, then we have no choice but to mail it in. Next. So here's just a general idea of like what the tax return looks like. This is the T1 general. All our personal information is reported on the first page. This is the second page where we report our income. And then on the following pages, we report some other income plus our deductions. And then on the final page, it'll determine whether we will be owing money or if we're going to be getting a refund. Next. So here's just an example of software, a NetFile software. Simple. You can see like you'll enter all your personal information and then you'll enter all your slips that you have. Therefore, you don't have to actually enter on the actual tax form. You just enter it like this as easy step method, and then it'll transfer everything to the actual tax forms. Next. Okay. Continue on.
Yeah, I think we will proceed to some questions that
Mhm.
we get from those pre-registered. Then maybe after our questions, then we will be opening all the people in the chat group in case in this group if you have any other questions that you want to clarify, if that's okay with you, Shadi.
Sure.
Okay, so the first question is, what document should I ask for from my employers?
So in most situations, you won't necessarily have to ask the employer for the T4. They should send it to you automatically. They'll either mail it out to you, email it to you, or if you have like an employee portal, like a platform, they don't have to log in to get it. So employers will have until the end of February to release the slips to us. Otherwise, if you don't receive it then you can ask them about it. Or if you're going to an individual like myself to file, so our employers have to send in our forms to T4s to CRA as well too. So therefore, if you don't get it, it could be because you moved as well too, and they don't have the proper address. If they sent it into CRA already, then we can log in to get it as well too. Okay.
Right. Thanks. Okay, so we arrived on December 2023 and rented an apartment. So are we eligible to apply for a new BC? Are we eligible to apply for a new BC renter tax credit?
So individuals, they may, even though they just arrived at the last month of the year, they may still be eligible if they paid 1 month of rent. So for this credit, this is this is new for individuals in BC. So when we claim this credit, what we will need is we need the amount of rent paid, the number of months you lived at the address, the address itself, and the name of the landlord. So it's also based on income. So the amount of credit we can get is a maximum of 400. If your income is under 60,000, then you should be able to receive the full credit. Now, if it's over 60,000, it'll be reduced up to income of 80,000. After 80,000, then you can't receive anything at all. Up to 60, between 60 and 80, it's reduced by about 2% for every dollar over 60,000. Therefore, we have the 80,000 threshold. Okay.
I
We
think
can go to the next one.
I just
Yeah.
want to add this related questions I received from my from this messenger. He said that can we include also our house rent and groceries for claiming?
No, it's strictly just rent. See, unfortunately, we're not given like any amount for groceries. See, because like myself in Ontario, we've always been given an amount like on our return for rent, but like not all provinces will, unfortunately. I was surprised that BC even introduced this one. They talked about it for a little bit, so they finally brought it into legislation.
Okay, thanks for that. Yeah. Okay, am I eligible for GST or HST credit if if I have not billed the taxes?
So for GST, for yourselves, for individuals, newcomers, you're entitled for GST the month after you arrive to Canada. So depending on when you arrive, so let's say you arrived in August for September intake, the first payment you'll be entitled to would be for October. Our benefits, sorry, GST is paid out every July, October, January, and April. So you're eligible for that amount, but you have to file taxes first in order to actually get the get the benefit. Because if you don't file, then essentially they don't have you on record to receive it. So sorry, somebody asked about the renter's credit about 2022. We can't claim for any year other than 23 because it just started for 23.
Yeah. Next, are interest from the bank accounts or GICs taxable and should be reported?
So if you do receive interest from the bank from a GIC or just from a savings account in general, the bank will send you a T5 slip showing the amount. Now, most banks, they usually don't send you the slip unless the total income you received, total interest you received was over $50. Some do, some don't, but even if they don't send you a slip, CRA, they would still expect us to report the interest. See, even sometimes CRA, they pay us interest too. If they send us amount, like takes them long to assess, they send us interest on our refund. Technically, we have to claim that as income as well too. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Filing of other income, example, Uber or DoorDash, and what are the considered deductibles expenses?
So for rideshare services for Uber and Lyft, also too with Uber and Lyft, you'll have to create a GST number, just similar to like when we go to a restaurant or store, they charge us tax. You have to charge tax on those rides as well too. Now, other things that we can claim, sorry, for the Uber, Lyft, and then DoorDash and just regular delivery expenses. You can claim motor vehicle expenses, including your gas, maintenance and repairs, your insurance. If you have to register for your license as well too, we can claim that fee. But regarding motor vehicle expenses, most important thing, it's not just having the expenses as well too, but we have to know your kilometers. So what CRA would expect from us, they would want our odometer reading at the beginning of the year and odometer reading on December 31st. This way we can see how many kilometers you drove overall for the year. And then they want you to keep track of all kilometers you drove related to the work. Because to get our ratio, we have to divide the business kilometers divided by the overall kilometers for the year. So with Uber and Lyft, they will report the kilometers on your summary, but unfortunately the delivery services they won't. So there was issues previously with Uber because what they would do, they would report the kilometers, but they would only report kilometers when you were with a passenger. They wouldn't report at the time when you're waiting to pick up a passenger. But so starting 2 years ago, they started to report both amounts, which helps us and them. So like there was a lot of complaints about it, so I guess finally they listened and they started reporting the correct way. So other things that we may claim. So again, if you're doing the delivery services,
Yeah.
if you have to buy supplies like the bag you have to buy, you can claim that. We can also
Mhm.
claim for everything. We claim a portion of your cell phone expenses. So similar to the motor vehicle expenses, you have to keep track of the hours used divided by total number of hours in a day or in a week. That's how we get our ratio as well too. Other things I remember I had a new Uber driver myself taking an
Mhm.
Uber. He would hand out bottles of water to the passengers. So we claim that as like supplies. But those
Okay.
would be the main things that we can claim.
Yeah. I found a related questions on this topic in chat, and then he mentioned that does should a DoorDash driver expect to receive T4 or any relevant documents after the company starts collecting though the companies start collecting their SIN? So what should be the next steps that they or what they should they ensure the proper filing tax documentation for that?
So at some time in the new year, DoorDash and like again the other platforms, they should issue you a summary. You would have to log in to get that summary, and then we would see the total income.
Okay. It's, yeah. And thanks. We arrived in the last quarter of 2023, but start working in January 2024. How do we file our taxes? And for couples, how is the filing process here?
So even if you don't have any income in that last quarter, you should still file in order to be eligible for the benefits. Plus, as well too, if you are attending UVic, we have to file so it's so they would have your tuition on file for with CRA. So for couples, we still send in like we'll send one return for each spouse. Now, for couples, it's always best for couples to file at the same time because if they don't file at the same time, then we may not have the proper results. If if some credits can be transferred from one spouse to another, see, we may not be able to catch those amounts because they didn't file at the same time. Also, also cause more delays with the processing of the return, as well as with filing for benefits. Like one of my clients here, himself and his spouse, they didn't file at the same time, so some amounts were missed. Therefore, I did some adjustments, and then I was able to find one of the spouses an extra $1,000. Okay.
Okay.
Any questions? Like any other questions related to this one? Did they have any?
No, not at the moment.
Okay.
And next is how should the medical expenses be listed in the deduction of the insurance covers 80%?
So if the insurance is covering it, any amount not covered, you can claim. So also too, if you do have medical coverage, the amount that we pay into the benefit plan, it could be through work or just through a separate provider. We can also claim that as a medical expense. So if you do have the benefits through work, it's best if you check your final pay stub for the year. This way we can see the total amount that you put into the plan itself. And then also as well too, so with your provider, what you can do, you can create an account online with them, and then you can look at your claims history, and then you can see how much was covered and how much you paid. Therefore, instead of having to go through like every single small receipt, you'll have all the information there. Also, too, regarding medical expenses with like with prescriptions, if you go to your pharmacist, they will also print out a summary. Because like a lot of times with especially with seniors, I would have them come in just bring in like the small receipt that you get attached to the prescription. Sometimes they would have dozens and dozens of those, only be for maybe like $1 and $2. I recommend to them to do this every single year, but they usually forget. But it's okay. I don't mind it because they've been seeing me for a long time. I have no issue doing the work for them. So sorry, any questions related to the medical?
Yeah, I just
One.
yeah, I just
Okay.
want to add on that medical stuffs that you mentioned. So you recommend that you can go back to the pharmacies that who where we able to claim our medicine. Is that right? And then we can able to get the report.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they'll issue a summary, like they may issue one, whole one for the family, or one for each individual, like yourself, your spouse, and then for the child as well too.
Okay.
It all depends on how they do their reporting.
Mike, I have an additional question for
Yeah.
that,
Sure.
for the medical. Can we also claim dental expense?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's one of the main ones that we can claim. Like and like
Okay.
well, 'cause I see some people like I've had some people claim large dental. I had somebody one year because he had to get everything replaced, plus get dentures and all that. So he had around 10,000 in dental. So like in situations like that, there's a CRA, they did question it. but it was fine because we knew what to expect and we had everything on file.
Okay, additional question. So the insurance you paid from your paycheck is counted as deductible?
Exactly. Yeah, can include as a medical expense. So actually, sorry, I just want to say one other thing with medical expense as well too. So the amount that we can claim for medical expense is based on our income. So the total medical expenses has to be more than 3% of our net income. So if your net income on the tax return is 40,000, your total medical expenses would have to be over and above 1,200 in order to help you. So again, for couples, we can claim all the amounts under one person, again, to get the highest benefit. So the other thing with medical expense as well too, we can carry forward it, but only to a certain point. So let's say you had you were here in 2022, you had a large expense, but you couldn't use it at the time. We could claim some of your 2022 expenses and some of your 2023. So just for example, let's say you had a large expense in July of 2022, but it didn't really help you. You claim on your 2023 tax, you can claim from July of 22 to June of 23, as long like it just has to end in the tax year. So any 12-month period, as long as it ends in that tax year.
Okay, thank you for that. Additional question, Shadi, again.
Yeah.
We would just like to clarify. So for medical expenses,
Mhm.
if for this year, if we bought some prescriptions from the doctors or we did laboratory tests, maybe from out of pocket, we can go to the pharmacy to get a list for that, for the tax filing,
Exactly.
you mean? Okay.
Mhm.
So even also for the laboratory tests?
Well, see, I don't know, like if you go to the lab, they may not necessarily issue you like a
Okay.
summary like that. You'll just have to keep track of your receipts.
Okay.
And then even for your dentist, they should also have all that on record if you need it as well.
Okay. So if we don't have our if we don't have the hard copy of our receipts, can we like ask them again for a copy of that receipts?
But yeah, there shouldn't be an issue. They should email it to you.
Okay. All
And
right.
then,
Thank you
as I
so much.
said before too, because if you do have you, like set up the account with your benefit provider, and then
Mhm.
you can also log in to see, because let's say like you submitted it for a claim, and they weren't willing to cover it, it should still show there that you submitted it, but you had to pay 100% of it.
All right then. Uh, additional, can we ask another question, but it's not related to the
That's
dental
all.
expense. Actually, from the previous question that was asked,
Yeah.
somebody
Yeah.
asked
Yeah.
here regarding arriving here in Canada around December 2023, and
Yeah.
they started working in 2024, or let's just say somebody is not yet working, either they're working or they're not yet working.
Yeah.
Should they file their taxes now?
Yeah, so they should still file. So
Okay.
again, if you arrived in December, you're eligible for the GST payment for January and April of 24. So the payment for January and April of 24 is based on the 2022 income, which is why we have to provide the world income in order for CRA to calculate how much we're entitled to. So for example, like normally when we provide the world income, we provide for the year of entry plus the previous year and sometimes previous 2 years. So for example, let's say you entered in January, February, March. We have to provide the income for the previous 2 years as well before entering, because you'd be entitled to a payment from April of 2023, which would be based on your income from 2021. So we're always like at least 1 year behind on things like that.
Okay. So additional question again. So again, for newcomers who arrived in December 2023, they are eligible for GST taxes, but will that be credited afterwards?
Exactly, yeah. So we have to file it first, file the return first. This way they're on record with the CRA. And then after that, we have to provide the world income to them. And once we provide the world income, they will calculate how much you're entitled to.
Okay. So just to clarify, everybody needs to declare their world income,
Yeah,
and that is 2 years prior coming to Canada, right?
exactly. Yeah, but we have forms that we have to fill out afterwards in order to apply for the benefits.
All right then. And additional question about donations, because it's just coming up.
That's
Is
okay.
a donation from an Asian country like Give Asia considered deductible?
What? No, no. Like if it's not registered with CRA, then we can't claim it. Because if they were to ask us for the proof, and then like they see it, they would go through their list. They wouldn't allow it. So because
Um,
if you did claim it originally and you got some money back from it, they would take it away and then they would force you to pay back a little bit of money.
All right
So
then.
like,
Just another question from the
Mhm.
previous
No,
question
that's okay.
again. About filing taxes as a couple. Yeah. What is the effect of marital status when filing?
Well, so with marital status, so in regards to, sorry, just readjusting.
Yes.
In regards to benefits purposes, we use the combined income
Yes. Yes.
to calculate. And then
Okay.
also too, like on the tax return. So for example, let's say you're working, but your spouse isn't. So for this year, we can make up to about 15,000 before having to essentially pay any tax. It'll be different for newcomers because we have to prorate it based on the number of days you're in Canada. This way it'll be a smaller amount. But so let's say your spouse is not working, they don't need those 15,000 credits. Therefore, it will be transferred over to you to help reduce any amount that you would have to pay yourself. So it would just help us reduce any tax that we have to owe or increase our refund. So, but like I said, it's always better for us to file at the same time. This way we can ensure that you would be entitled to those full amounts.
Okay. And just going back again, what is the maximum income to be eligible to get the GST taxes? Is there any maximum income eligible for that?
For individuals, it's around, I think it's around 40 or 45 is the cutoff. Now for
Mhm.
couples, probably around 60 to 70. But
Mhm.
also too, like if you have kids as well too, there's like a supplement in the calculation. So you may not be entitled to the the individual calculation, but you
Mhm.
may be entitled to the supplement. See, again, we can't say exactly because usually softwares give us an estimate, but CRA, they may change the amounts afterwards if they have other information on file.
Okay. Thank you for that, Shadi. And
Thank you.
another question again relating to world income because a lot of people
Okay.
are asking about this. I think I asked it about you
Yeah,
personally, right?
that's okay.
Okay. So what is the purpose of the world income when this income has been taxed from another country, like for example, Middle East, before coming to Canada? Is it just for benefit purposes?
So for the year of entry, sorry, we use the world income to determine the credits on the tax return and as well for the benefits.
Okay.
Like yeah, like we just have to provide it for the first year. So
Mhm.
if you are receiving other foreign income like going on, technically we should report it, but I try and avoid as much as possible. The main ones I usually report will be like mainly for investments because those are reported on the slips already.
All right then.
Yeah, see, because I had some individuals as well too, when they first contacted CRA to provide their world income, they originally said like it was at zero or a smaller amount. But but then when they applied for child benefits, if they're eligible,
Mhm.
they put down a different amount. So CRA, they recalculated how much they're entitled to, and then they had to pay back some money. So like it's not necessarily like they're trying to avoid like doing it on purpose. It's just people not being aware.
Mhm.
But it is
Okay.
very common for it to happen.
Yes, actually, yes. So just a follow-up question again. What if, for example, for those people who already filed their taxes, but they did not initially file their world income? Is there a way to do that again for this second filing of taxes?
Well, see, it honestly, like in other years, I haven't really had CRA question it when we put it on the tax return,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, itself. But if they didn't provide the world income for the benefits, they can call them to update the amount, or they
Okay.
can send in a form, and then they will adjust it themselves.
Okay. So there will be no penalties, right?
Well, like worst case, they would just have to pay back some of the benefits,
Okay.
or they could get more.
All right
But
then. That's
but the
clear.
thing, but the thing I like in regards like so when we owe money for benefits, the thing I like compared to owing for the actual taxes is that on the benefits, they won't charge you any penalties or interest. Basically, like what you see is what you'll owe. There won't be any additional amount.
Okay. So it's always better to declare everything.
Yeah.
All right then. So just one question about that. So
Mhm.
this person arrived December 2022, but they already just started working after a year, around February 2023.
Mhm.
No, after a couple of months. Will this person owe CRA if I will file taxes this year? That's a question.
Well, see, we can't say for sure because it all depends on so it depends on the total income. So the sources of income, different sources, so employment income, EI, investments. If you're doing the delivery services, because some income is not tax at source, as we say. When we say at source, so income, tax held withheld from your paycheck. Now, also too, when individuals have multiple T4s, in this situation, I usually see individuals owing money because, for example, so let's say you have a full-time job and then you have a part-time job. At the part-time job, you may only be working, let's say 10 hours a week. Therefore, the amount that you're working, they are not required to withhold tax based on the government calculations. So usually I'll see people owing in this situation because there's not a consistent rate of tax being withheld. So, for example, last year I had an individual with I had a couple. One had 5 T4s and one had 7 T4s. So the individual with the 7 T4s, that individual didn't owe, they were getting back around $400. But the individual with the 5 T4s, they were owing money around 400. So they were upset with me because of this, because they didn't think I did everything possible.
Okay.
And then I explained to them that if they didn't have their tuition credits, instead of owing 400, they would have owed about 1,500. So like they were very lucky in that sense. And then I explained to them as well too, because they didn't fully believe me. So I told them to look at their T4s. Like for example, they had a T4 with around 5,000 in income, and they only had tax withheld of about $100. So let's say you have 5 T4s like that, you'll have 25,000 income total and only 500 in tax withheld. The tax rates start at 20%. So therefore, there's not enough tax withheld overall. So you should expect to owe some money. See, now they say it's actually better for us to owe money as opposed to getting a refund back. Because they say if we're getting a refund back, that means we're paying too much throughout the year. It's better for us to have the money in our pocket, invest it a little, and then just have the money aside to pay CRA at the tax time. Now, also as well too, what you can do, if you do have the multiple jobs, your employer may have you fill out a form before you actually start called a TD1, like for the personal credits and all that for their payroll. So on this amount, you'll enter your personal information, you'll enter some of the credits that you're claiming, and then on the second page of this form, there's a box where you can have additional tax withheld if you would like to. It's not mandatory, but if you want to have the extra tax, then you can just in case. And then you can also resubmit this form and change the amount throughout the year if you change your mind. So was that okay, or did they need any more clarification, or?
I think so far everything is okay because the
Okay.
questions is like,
Yeah, it's
No, I
fine.
know, it's okay.
As we talk about this, about that multiple job, the next questions that we got in
Okay.
Google is really interesting about that. So what is the tax um form that they are tax return that they need to fill? Like if their earning is about purely compensation, or maybe this one is more on commission based. Is that so? Is that is how I interpret? And yeah.
So if you're
Yeah.
earning just like, let's say strictly from commission, or if you're just doing Uber, well, then we'll just be filing a business statement. There's no separate like tax return itself that we're gonna file. There's just different forms within the tax return that we will include in order to calculate the income. But there's no second return. So sorry, because within the tax return, there's the federal forms, there's provincial forms, and then different forms to report the income. It's all done all at the same time. The only province that's difficult is Quebec. They have the federal form to send in, and then we have to send in the Quebec return separate. Those ones are usually more difficult, similar to like the states, because the states they have like the federal return, then they may have a state return, a municipal return, a health return. There's so many different ones that they have, so we're actually lucky compared to them. But like all of that, like everything is reported at the same time. Did they have any more questions regarding it? Any comments or?
Actually a lot.
Yeah.
Another question
Really good.
is,
Yeah.
yes, related to this one. No, but a different one. They different tax. Wait a second. Actually, it's a different question. Let's just say, is trauma therapy like PTSD, depression is eligible for medical claims?
Oh yeah, well, see, to me, it would still be, I would still claim it. But again, if we're unsure, we'll go online to CRA to their site, and then they can confirm it.
Okay. So just check the CRA website.
Yeah.
To be sure. All right then.
Alright.
There's also another question, just sorry, because
That's
it's
okay.
been like coming back.
That's okay.
They're receiving money from their home country, like the Philippines, through
Mhm.
bank transfer, or let's just say in another country. Do we need to include that as a taxable income?
Well, if it's just like a family member, sorry, sending
Yes.
money to you, yeah,
Family member, yes.
no, no, because like they're just it's supporting you, similar to as if you're sending money back home. So
Okay.
sorry, like while we're on this, I've had people ask about if they're supporting another individual,
Mm-hmm.
we may be able to make a claim, but it's usually a lot harder because we have to prove it. So I've had some other recently I had somebody ask as well too. So like their parents are here, like on a visitor
Mm-hmm.
visa, they had some medical expenses for them. But since they're not like a resident of Canada, unfortunately, we can't claim any amount for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We have a related question about that. I'm not sure if
Okay.
that's related. That about this.
Okay.
Uh,
Yes.
they have uh, they have proceeds from the sale of property. It's made outside the Canada, and when they bring the money here, is that part of? Do they need to submit that as a taxable?
So regarding this, there's another form that we have to send in if we have a foreign property. So like not necessarily like a house, if
Mm-hmm.
you're holding shares or something like that as well too, or like a bank account, anything over 100,000, we have to report like just for information purposes. Now, if there's a sale, see, I haven't really dealt with the situation myself, but somebody selling beforehand. See, we may have to pay capital gains, but like I can't really say for sure since I haven't dealt with it myself. See, there is a chance because like with the capital gains, but the thing I like about capital gains as well too, we don't pay the tax on the full amount. We only have to pay tax on half of it. Because technically, so for example, sorry, let's say as well too that you left Canada,
Mm-hmm.
anything that you have, we let's say you had some shares here or a house, we consider it a deemed disposition. That's what they say. So it's not necessarily sold, but we consider it sold for tax purposes. Similar to like when like with rental income, if you're renting out a house and you stop renting it out and you move in, so you didn't actually sell the house, but CRA they would still want you to pay some capital gains on it as if you did. And people have been very upset with me for that as well too, but unfortunately I don't make the rules on there. What I usually
Okay.
like what I would tell them is if you go to a realtor to see what the house is assessed at, then we can try to minimize the gain as well too. Yeah, but unfortunately, I'm sorry, I can't really add more on to this one since I haven't dealt with the situation much.
Yes.
No worries.
Okay. Now it's world income.
Yeah. No, it is really important because like yeah, honestly, world income is like for some people who declare their I think there's always a confusion on how we're gonna declare the world income. Maybe I think the first question is what is the proper way on declaring the world income, and then of course following this question is how does the world income overseas affect the tax due in Canada?
So again, on the tax return itself, when we declare the world income, so we just have to know have to see how much your income was before entering Canada, and then we see how much your income is in Canada. So as I mentioned before, that the certain credits they're prorated based on when you entered Canada. But if 90% of your total income for that year was from Canadian sources, then you should be eligible for the full credit. Now, sorry, the income. So again, like when they're saying overseas, if they're living here and then working overseas, or just before entering.
Yeah, just for entering.
Yeah.
Yeah. At first, for entering, are we declaring the whole world income for 2 years as a couple
Mhm.
or as a single?
Well, either yeah, well, like whether you're single or a couple, either way has to be reported. Even if the income is zero, we still have to report it just so they can calculate everything accurately. So we'll increase or decrease. Yeah. So
Okay, so can I add to that world income because that is a
Yeah,
very, very interesting topic for
yeah,
everybody. Okay,
exactly.
again, so we'll just clarify that everybody who comes to Canada needs to declare their world income. So for 2 years, right, Shadi? And then,
Exactly.
yes, their 2 year salary or income from overseas, whether it's from the Philippines or the Middle East or whichever country that they came. So either that they have a job here when they came or not, right, Shadi?
Either way.
Either way. So there's a additional question about that. What if I don't have yet work here in BC, and the income that I received in my previous country, which is Papua New Guinea, for example, doesn't enter any of my bank accounts? Do I need to declare world income?
It doesn't enter. Sorry, like they're here and they're still working from the Philippines, or again just before they entered.
No, I think they're not working at Papua New Guinea. So yeah, I think they have income. No, the question is the income I receive in Papua New Guinea doesn't enter any of my Canadian bank accounts. I think they have a different bank account overseas.
Oh, okay, I see, I see.
Yeah, they're still working remotely.
Yes, they're still working
Yeah.
remotely in their previous country, but the money is not coming inside of Canada. Do they need to declare that?
Well, see, anything before entering, I would yeah, I would declare it before entering. I would, but like for the actual return itself, I would likely just say that the income is zero. Even though yes, we are technically supposed to, but it's better if they just say it's zero in that case. And then
Oh.
also, sorry, I've had some like individuals from the Philippines. They've
Mhm.
sent me their tax return to look over, and then they just told me the conversion rate. Like you don't necessarily have to. I just need an amount to enter in.
Okay. So they don't need to convert it to Canadian dollars.
Well, yeah, sorry, it does have to be Canadian, sorry, converted into Canadian, but you don't necessarily have to show me the tax return. You can just give me the amount.
All right then.
Yeah.
So what
And
if yes.
oh no,
So
sorry, because even if you give it to me like in the Philippine and they're in that currency, then I'll just convert it myself into Canadian.
okay. So they're trying to just make your work easier, Shadi. That's why they're
Oh
converting.
no worries.
All right then. So what if, for example, again, world income, just last question regarding that. What if, for example, they're still working remotely, but the money that they receive is already coming inside Canada? Do they need to declare that?
Well, see, yeah, you should technically like report the foreign income. So we can't say for sure if CRA will question it, if they'll like want to do an audit for the sorry of the bank account. Technically, all income should be claimed, but
Oh,
sometimes I'll forego it. It all depends on the situation. We also look to see if they have a tax treaty. If you file the return there, again, we'll see how much you owe, and then we'll subtract that from what you owe here just to offset. So there's no double taxation.
all right then. So can we move to another topic, Mike?
Yeah. Any other question for world income? Are we all clear?
Is there a supporting document in declared for the world income?
Well, see, myself personally, I've never had CRA ask for anything.
All right then. So there's no supporting documents. All right then. Can we move to
Okay,
another
I think
question,
Gisette
please?
also have one more. Oh no, all good.
No more.
Okay.
Because I have a topic
Okay.
here that has like lots of questions about
sure.
rental here in Canada.
Okay, I think we'll do for. I think this is the last question that we get from Google. So aside
Okay.
from the basic tax return, what are the taxes should we personally file here in Canada as non-residents or international students? Alright.
So in most situations, we just have to file like the one return, just the T1. But there are some situations where if so for example, if you were here like let's say you're a senior, and then you've lived here, you're collecting pension sometimes, and then you move back home, we may have to file a return just so you can continue receiving the income, so they can see it on record and see if you may owe. And that also works out, I remember, with rental income as well too. But in most situations, it'll just be the T1. Because again, the T1 will combine the federal return plus the provincial return as well. So therefore, we don't do anything separately.
Okay.
Okay.
Then-
Can I ask this question, Mike, regarding house?
Yeah, sure.
So
Okay,
there's a
now we'll
question.
entertain all the questions from the chat box.
Okay, because this has been a repetitive question. So,
It's okay.
Shadi, when
Yeah.
sharing a house, is a
Mhm.
regular receipt from the landlord sufficient for documentation related to house rent? Or are there additional steps or forms required for accurate record keeping and potential inclusion in tax filings.
No, nothing like that. See, because also too, like when I'm wanting to show proof for rent, so I've had individuals ask me like, well, can I show like I have the e-transfers, can I show that? Or I have the checks, can I show that? No,
Mhm.
unfortunately, if they did want proof, CRA, they would want to see the letter signed by the landlord. So again, with the information, with like your name, of course, the
Mhm.
address that you're living at, how long you lived there, how much you paid, and then they want the landlord to sign off on it with his name as well too. Because it's
Okay.
because of what they're going to do, like essentially what they would want to do. See, they're going to be giving us credit for it, so they want the landlord to claim it as income. Because if they're going to give us money, they want to get the money back somehow, one way or the other. Now, there's other situations as well too, where like sorry, like where the landlord doesn't want to give a receipt because he doesn't want to
Mhm.
claim it as income. So what I'll normally do, I'll tell individuals like, well, here's how much you would receive if you did put the rent in,
Mhm.
and then see if they can work something out with the landlord. And again, too, like we can't say for sure if CRA is going to question. They don't do their auditing until late in the year or early the following.
Okay. All right then. So in relation to that, just two questions. First is for the rental, do we need to provide the agreement document as proof?
Well, I have had people send me that too.
Mm-hmm.
It has been enough for CRA at times, and other times not. It can also depend on the agent reviewing it.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
So,
see, because like sorry, like, even like when
no
we
problem.
so individuals when we call CRA, honestly, you can talk to 5 different individuals and get a different answer from every single person.
That's so true.
It can be I find it honestly I find it very frustrating, like for myself, like and for yourselves as individuals, because honestly, sometimes I will argue with the agents. So like a most recent situation, about a month ago, 2 months ago, so an individual from Victoria, they applied for child benefits, but their kids were too old to receive it. They were already 18 and 19. The individual thought that since they were still under 18 at the time that they entered, they could still qualify, but it's based on the time when you actually apply. So even though they're not eligible for child benefits, there would still be a calculation to include them in the GST from when you
Mhm.
originally arrived. So I sorry, I explained this to the agent, and then I said that so they received amounts from January of in April of 2023, but they're still entitled to an amount from October of 2022 since they arrived in September. So the agent put me on hold for a second, and then they said, "Well, like I can see the notice right here. It says that they don't qualify."
Mhm.
Sorry, I kept arguing with the agent a little more. I said, "Well, no, they are entitled to since they're entitled to the January and April one, they should be entitled to the October one,
Mm.
since it's during the same benefit period from July to June." And then they kept saying, "Well, no, I can see that they're not qualified." I kept pushing and pushing and pushing. They finally put me back on hold. I guess they talked to like a senior agent. Then they came back to me. It's like they said, like, "Hello, are you still there?" It's like, "Yes, I am." It's like, "Well, like I looked into it more. You are correct. They are entitled to it. There's information missing." So unfortunately, sometimes we have to push. I wasn't even being rude about it because I mean, like years ago, they had there was a study released saying that a lot of the information agents were giving was not correct. So just because they work for CRA, it doesn't always mean that they know what they're talking about.
Okay. That's very unfortunate.
Yeah.
And oh well, also too, because like a lot of times, so if I'm filing, if I'm filing for you,
Mhm.
I will have like other paperwork. I'll have a form to sign to authorize me on your account with CRA as a representative.
Mm.
Therefore, I can respond to them on your behalf by phone, online, or by mail.
Okay.
So I can usually make most changes except for personal information. If your address is changing, your
Mm.
marital status, if the birth date was wrong, or like your banking information, then only you can change that, not myself.
Okay.
Some people like as well too, like sometimes are hesitant to sign the forms, even after I explain to them, but it's usually in the best benefit. Because it's usually easier for me to call on your behalf, because I know what they're gonna ask me, as opposed to yourself calling that and then giving you a hard time sometimes.
Okay. So there's additional question again
Yeah.
relating to rental. What if
Mhm.
we are just on sublet agreement? So they're not really the tenants, and they pay the rent to the owner or the master contract on our
Mhm.
first few months here in Canada. Are they still eligible for rent credit?
See, see, they could possibly claim, but again, if CRA is to prove it, sorry, if they want the proof,
They
it'll
don't
really,
have.
really be hard for us because that individual they're subletting from, they would have to claim it as income as well too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, Shadi. Additional question. What if the landlord is asking the tenant to pay the rent in cash and they will not provide any receipts? So how's that?
Well, unfortunately, if that's the situation, like we really can't do much. We can always sometimes like we can still take a chance to enter it in, but if they do want the proof and we can't provide it, they'll ask any amount that they gave us, they'll ask for it back.
Okay.
So sometimes I find like it's up to the individual if they want us to take the chance or not.
All right then. So for rentals, it's always a good thing if you have documentations. If let's just say CRA will ask about it, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
If you sorry, like if you live like in a building, then it
Mhm.
won't really be an issue because they should issue you something.
Okay.
But if it's to a landlord, it can be harder to get the information.
Like for example, a house, and they're just, the landlord is just subletting the room for them, because actually that's the usual accommodation setup here in
Mm.
Victoria.
No, even here too, very common.
Mm.
Yeah, like
Okay.
they'll rent you out to one room of the house. Like we have that very common here.
Okay.
Sometimes like we find here they'll have like sometimes anywhere from 5 to 10 people in one house. Charge them 500 or 600 a month.
All right then. So there's also another question. I
Mhm.
submitted a childcare benefit application last year and received a letter from CRA. It's actually related to what you just told us, that little story, that we are not eligible yet due to the number of months stayed here in Canada. This
Mhm.
month we have lived here for 18 months. Do I need to refile the childcare benefit again? Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. See, you should resubmit it. So it's best in general, it's best for us not to apply until that 18-month period for situations like that. So and sorry, if the individual applied online, it may give them a hard time with like trying to apply again online because you enter the information for the child. Let's say you try to delete the child, like sorry, the child's information that you added on through my account. It'll give you a bunch of like questions like how come you're deleting it? Is the child still with you?
Mhm.
Did custody arrangements change? Therefore, it'll give you an issue with adding it on again. So you may have, like I said, just may have to mail in the form instead. So like again with the CCB,
Mhm.
you're eligible to apply at 18 months, but you're not eligible to receive an amount until the 19th month.
Okay.
So it's always better to wait until the 18 months.
Okay. So like for now, if like for example in my case,
Mhm.
my daughter, we will be here, and the 18 months will be around June. We can start to file now, right?
Well, I would still wait until June
Okay. Wait
because
till
like it
June.
may
All
take
right.
them, sorry, it may take them a while to process. Like usually it takes them a
Mhm.
while, but sometimes CRA they'll surprise us and then do it like in a timely manner. But then the same situation, like let's say you apply for it right now,
Mhm.
and then you got a response for them 2 months from now. Then they would
Okay.
say the same thing. You're not eligible due to the 18-month period.
Okay.
So also too, sorry, with benefits, when we apply for CCB, information that we have to provide. So there's one form, RC66, where you just put the child's information
Mhm.
and your own information if you're not applying, sorry, initially through the My Account. The second form that we have to do is RC66 SCH, providing the world income. We will also have to send in the birth certificates for the kids, as well
Okay.
as your work and study permits.
All right then.
So sorry, just one more thing to add with the one form when we provide the income. If you're married or common law, it's also best to put the date of when you became married.
Okay. All
And
right
then
then.
sorry, I just want to add one more thing regarding the benefits.
Mhm.
So they may only send you benefits for a few months, and then in order to continue receiving benefits, they want you to send in updated permits. So like
Okay.
right now, I've had many individuals like I sent in sorry, I sent in the updated information for some individuals back in September,
Mhm.
and then they still haven't received it. I had other individuals who waited about 8 months after sending in documents for them
Mhm.
to review it. But don't worry, like it may take them a while, but they will back pay you.
Okay.
So you won't actually lose the amount.
So everything is retroactive, right? Even if let's just say you forgot, oh, it's already my 19th month and then I forgot to file for my daughter for the childcare benefit. Everything will be retroactive, right?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
So like to give you another example, sorry, just like based on benefits, just for GSC as well too.
Mm-hmm.
So an individual I work with, and then even another individual as well too, they both arrived in 2019, but they didn't originally provide the world income to CRA. Therefore, I had them fill out the forms, providing all the information. I sent it in. It took them a while to process,
Mm-hmm.
but then they sent them the benefits from 2019. They each received around 1,100.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that, Shadi. That's very clear. So for those people that have kids, so better wait until you're good to go, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's another question, Shadi, because let's just say this person started to come here. Well, I'm single in all of my paper, but
Yeah.
in April, I will be officially in common law relationship. If I'll
Okay.
file our apartment contract return, should they file it under common law? Like this is a change of status. Should I upload the rent contract twice, one for my partner and one for me?
No. Because so again, for the couples, it would all be claimed under one individual. So
Okay.
regarding common law, people they also get a little confused. So with
Mm-hmm.
common law, we consider you common law if you're living either if you're living together for 12 months consecutively, or if you have a child, whichever one comes first.
Okay. So there's another question also. How much of the tuition fee do I need to declare for tax purposes? Is it mandatory to declare the entire 100% of the amount I paid in 2023?
Well, yeah, so like whatever is reported on the tuition slip, we have to enter that in. So also like another thing with tuition, see people I find they have a misconception about tuition and filing tax in
Yes.
general
Yes.
because a lot of individuals they automatically assume they're going to get money back, and then if they're not getting the result that they expect, there's some individuals they get upset with me.
Mm-hmm.
I can't fully control that, and so for example, like some regarding the tuition, I'll have somebody say to me, uh, I had somebody 2 years ago. He was new to Canada as well too. He didn't really work a lot. He only had maybe a few $1,000s in income.
Mm-hmm.
And then, sorry, he didn't really have a lot of tax withheld from his T4. He was only getting back as $67. So that and then he said to me, he's like 67. Like, are you sure about that? But I paid 10,000 tuition. I should be getting back more. I was told I'll get back a lot.
Yes.
But no, but that's not always the situation. Because see, because again, the tuition is used for us to help reduce any amount that we owe. But if you're not working, it's not going to be beneficial for you at the moment. So again, therefore, with the tuition, if you don't need it this year, we have the option of carrying it forward future years. It would carry forward automatically if you don't use it. Or the unused amount, you can you can transfer it to a spouse, parent, or grandparent. But usually, sorry, like in the year of entry, I would usually recommend not to make a transfer like to the spouse. I had a few individuals that wanted to, and then yeah, sorry, it prolonged things with the return. CRA, they requested documents because they wanted to know more about the income before entering Canada. So therefore, instead of them receiving the money like by the end of April, some of them it didn't receive for about like 4 or 5 months or so.
Okay. So there's another question. Okay, a lot of questions are coming up. I
That's okay.
only have one T4 and one job since February. I mean, how do I file that? That's a question.
Well, like if it's since February of this year, then you won't file anything till next year. And they just started like working right now, February 24.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing will you won't have to report anything until we file taxes next year for 2024. But if they start working in 2023, February 23, then they'll be sent to T4 to file for this year.
Okay, so what about can we claim refund for cash car purchase? Thought it's cash. Car purchase.
No, see, actually, many people ask me that as well too. Unfortunately, we can't get any amount back. The only time we can claim for vehicles is if we have a business income or if you have employment expenses. Sorry, employment expenses. So again, if you're employed, you're in sales, just earning a regular salary, and you're required to travel for work to visit the clients, the employer will fill out a form, T 2200 Declaration of Conditions of Employment. it'll state that yes, you were required to use your vehicle for work. It say like you were not reimbursed, and therefore you can claim the expenses. See, other things that people do ask me about, people have told me that they're allowed to claim their wedding on their tax return. You can't claim that, unfortunately. I've had people ask about funerals, which is legitimate, but unfortunately you can't claim that. Some people have actually asked me if you can claim your pets on the tax return. But unfortunately, we can't claim anything like that. See,
Okay.
also too, actually many students ask me about laptops. We can't claim that either. Same as books. See, within the tuition, they used to give us additional credits on the tax return for books, but they took away that credit in 2017.
Okay. So there's also another question, but a different one.
That's
Actually,
okay.
common law.
Mhm.
What if the common law relationship broke down on November? Technically single at the end of December. I'm sorry to hear that. So yeah, they broke
So
off.
common law, it's sorry, if there's a breakdown in the relationship, let's say there's a breakdown in the relationship, but you get back together within 90 days,
Hmm.
then we would still consider you like common law.
Within 90 days.
Afterwards, exactly. But so after the 90 days, then we'd consider you single. And then so let's say after the 90 days, if you guys got back together, so we would consider you common law again from 12 months based on the date you got back together.
Okay.
So honestly, sometimes I find marital status can be one of the difficult things with filing,
Hmm.
changes the marital status, especially when there's kids involved.
Okay.
So other examples, like I've seen regarding the common law, if you're 12 months together or if you have a child,
Hmm.
so some individuals, again, like they'll have a child, but they don't claim as common law. They claim as single to try and get the additional benefits. But eventually, at some point, when they do eventually claim as a common law when they do move in together, or if they get married, CRA may go back to the date when the child was born, recalculate the benefits, and make them pay back. Like they could pay back a large amount depending on what they received.
Okay. So it depends on the relationship again.
Mhm.
So, by the way, there's another question. My previous employer didn't give me contract when I was working with them, but I'm getting the salary. Now I'm asking for my T4. They didn't reply, and I don't think they will give me. Is there any issue with that? I mean, are
Well,
companies really, is it mandatory for companies to give T4 to their employees, even if they don't,
definitely. Oh yeah, they have to. They have to by law. But
by
like I
law?
said again, if they don't send it to you, if we can check to see if CRA has it. So also as well too, some employers like they're not responsible, and they won't necessarily like they'll give you the T4, but they won't send it to CRA. So what will happen again after the filing late in the year or early next year? They'll have like a matching program. They'll look at the amounts that we filed compared to what they have on record, and then if they don't see if the employer doesn't send it in, then we will have to send in the physical T4 just so they can see not just the income, but they
Mhm.
want to see the other amounts deducted from the T4. So the CPP contributions, the EI contributions,
Mhm.
your tax withheld from the slip, and if you have union dues or any pension on the slip as well too.
Okay, thank you for that, Shadi. So, can we go back to the tuition fee question? Because for sure, majority of our students here. For how long can we accumulate the unused tuition fee as deductible expense? Is there a limit or bracket amount to be applied for the taxable year?
No limit. So if you don't need the tuition this year, it'll keep carrying forward and carrying forward until we actually need it. So again, like in these situations, I've had some individuals who will go to school for like more than 5 years. Since they're not working a lot, they have a large amount of tuition building up. That I guess, sorry, the highest amounts that I've seen from tuition buildup, I had one get back around 7,000, and I had somebody get back almost 9,000, just because of the tuition building up for all those years. But there is no limit for how long it could be. See, because if we need to use it in that year, we'll use it automatically. And so let's say if you didn't enter in the tuition, like, sorry, let's say you have an unused amount from the previous year and you didn't enter that in, CRA would have that on record already, so they would add it on themselves.
Okay. So, just additional question also for those who have children, are
Yep.
there any tax deductions for expenses of children's sports, arts, supplementary classes like swimming, dancing?
No, unfortunately, like they took that credit away from us. It was either in 2016 or 2017. They used to allow us to claim about $1,000 in expenses, and then the federal government would refund us 15%. And then for individuals like for myself in Ontario, the provincial government would also refund us 10% of our expenses up to $1,000. So at most they could get a benefit of about $250.
Okay.
See, because like it was honestly like you never really got a full amount, but it was more just to encourage the individuals to put their kids into something. Yeah, they honestly they took away a lot from us over the years, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was so sad. You said it was 2016, right? That's the last time? Because I'm sending my daughter to swimming classes and not daycare. So I was thinking maybe I could get tax benefits from that as well. But anyway, what
Yeah,
can we
because
do?
we can't even consider it as like as daycare. See,
Okay,
like
yes.
so my nieces are in dance.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a lot of time, very costly. Have-
Exactly. Per
Oh, I have
month.
other clients like who have boys in sorry in hockey.
Mm-hmm.
Also a lot of time and costly.
All right then. So anyway, that's what you do for your children, right?
Exactly.
So there's another question.
Mhm.
I think I was not able to successfully file my husband's tax last year. He worked for half a month, December of 2022. Whenever I try to open or link with CRA, I cannot link it with CRA. I have this error, error 045. The information you entered doesn't match your records. What should I do? This person has used TurboTax.
Oh, so okay, a lot of times. So I find that the biggest issue I find for newcomers is to figure out what name they have on file for you.
Mm,
So because you may have like one or two first or last names, but they may not necessarily have all those names on record. And like also as well too, another issue I usually see with individuals, especially from India, on on the form that you have with the SIN number from Service Canada, they
mm.
have their first and last name on the same line. So
Okay.
therefore, when you try to file it, it'll give you that error saying it doesn't recognize it. And then other things as well too, like so when you have multiple last names,
Mm-hmm.
so what will also happen, they may have all the names, they may only have one of the names, or they could have all the names but no spaces.
Okay.
Yeah, so like honestly, it can be one of the biggest issues when first filing, figuring out the names.
Okay. So that would already be an error because I know here in Canada they're not using middle names, right?
Well, yeah, see, because like depending on what you have on your sorry, on the SIN number,
Mm-hmm.
that's what we have to go by. Because it
Okay.
doesn't matter like what you have on your ID or the bank account, we have to go by the SIN number for tax purposes.
Okay. So whichever is on your SIN, that's what we follow.
And also too, sorry again, like if you do have a middle name, they could have the middle name or just the initial.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. We have to try
So
multiple times sometimes, like trial and error to see what we can get on file.
okay. So just one question. Okay, again, Shadi. For
Yeah.
employee benefits, if there's rent benefit and vehicle allowance on the pay stub, which are taxed, are there any expenses we can report related to that?
So okay, so those amounts it'll be reported it'll be included in box 14, but also reporting those other amounts for information purposes. Now, unfortunately, unless they issue you the T2200, you can't claim any amounts unless
Mhm.
they issue that to you. And then even at the same time, since they gave you a benefit, so sometimes the benefit will be included in income, sometimes it won't. So
Mhm.
let's say the benefit is not included in income and you're claiming expenses, your expenses will be reduced by that benefit. But since it's claimed in income, we'd be able to claim the full amount of expenses only if they issue you the T2200.
Okay. So are we able to create a CRA account even if we have not filed yet for our tax returns?
No, you can't do that yet as well too, because essentially until you file taxes, you don't exist on their end. They don't have any record
Okay.
of you. Because they will also ask you for tax information from
Okay.
the tax return to verify your identity, and then they will mail you an access code. So as well too with that, if your address has changed since filing and you're want to set up my account, it's best if you update the address first with them to make sure they send the access code to the current address.
Okay. So wow, Shadi, that's a lot. Okay.
Sorry, can I say one more thing regarding the
No
address and all
problem.
that?
Sure,
So
Shadi.
regarding the address, if your address does change, it's best to to update them right away. Because what can happen? So let's say if they send you some mail and then
Mhm.
it gets returned to them, they'll put like a message on the account and they will hold your benefits. It'll say like a credit held RMF. RMF on their end means a return mail flag. So they will keep holding benefits until you update the address with them.
Okay. So there's also a question. Do we need to file GST on our own, or it's automatic once you already filed during this filing season?
Well, no. So they will calculate everything automatically after we file. It's
So
just
it's
providing
automatic.
it's just providing the world income just for the first year of entry in order for them to actually calculate. So again, let's say you don't provide your world income, you'll receive a notice from them saying that we cannot calculate your entitlement until we have the world income. They'll just show that, and then again, you will either have to call them or send in forms. But at the same time, oh, oh, sorry. Um, in regards to sending in the forms, if you entered in September or earlier, January to September, you still have to send in forms. You can call them just to get things going, but they won't send you the full amount. So let's say we filed already for 2023, and then
Mhm.
we call them to update the world income. They will only send you benefits starting from January 24. They will not send you anything previously. Because I've asked every single agent, and then like not one can give me an answer of why this is. They all just tell me that they're not entitled to it, but again, I know otherwise.
Okay. Yes. You already explained to that a while ago about, getting different answers from
Yeah.
different CRA agents.
So like you yourself, you've had to call before
Yeah,
CRA?
yeah. I told you, yes. I called
Yeah.
regarding world income uh 3 times actually, just to verify if what each of them is saying is true. But unfortunately, I've got 2 yeses and 1 no. So
Yeah.
I don't know which to believe. That's a problem.
And sometimes you wait 2 hours just to.
Exactly. 2 hours of being on queue before getting an answer. And then the answer is, still unquestionable as well.
So another thing as well too, when I call CRA,
Mhm.
like before I even start to tell them like what I want, I say to them, I ask them to take down my number in case we get disconnected.
Okay.
Therefore, that they can call me back instead of because it has happened to me before, and it's again very frustrating have to wait the 2 hours. But most agents
Okay.
are usually okay with this if I ask them to take down the number.
Okay. So there's just 2 questions for the forms. Do we
Sure.
have to request the T5 from the bank in case they do not automatically send it to us?
No, that again, they should still send automatically, but if the total interest received is under $50, then they will not send it. There's only usually a few banks that will actually, so the major banks, like the major five banks, they usually won't send it. But if you have usually with with EQ Bank, Equitable Bank, Tangerine, or like the credit unions, they should send you something no matter what.
Okay. All right. So, by the way, how will you know if you'll have an owing from CRA? Do they call you? Do they email you or send you a snail mail?
Oh no. So after we file, they'll send you the notice of assessment. They'll send
Okay.
you just a small summary showing the final result, the balance owing, or the refund. And then it'll explain to you how you can make the payment. Usually the best way to make the payment is either going to the bank. You can also set up CRA as a payee through online banking. Or if you have my account, you can set up a pre-authorized payment to come out of your account.
Okay. So, by the way, if we can create a CRA account, if it's our first time to file our taxes, our only option is to ask a preparer like you to do it for us, right?
What like you can still file yourself if it's
Mm-hmm.
your first year filing, but you still have to wait until you receive the information in order to create the account. See, because again, I have people sign paperwork to authorize me as a rep on the account. So people think that I've created the account myself, but only the individual can do that. So I'm just a
Okay.
rep, I'm just like a rep with CRA themselves.
Okay.
When I have
So,
people sign these forms, they're going to audit me for my paperwork as well too.
okay. So let's just say, Shadi, aside from contacting a tax preparer, income tax preparer like you, are there other platform or software that they can use as well? Like, just giving them another option.
Yeah. So like the main ones are TurboTax,
Mm-hmm.
well, simple, and UFile. But like again, there are so many. There's also Studio Tax. You'll have to go online to CRA to see all the ones, and then as well to mention about the volunteer clinics.
Okay.
But like as well too, like with the volunteer clinics, they don't necessarily have an individual who can like specialize in certain returns,
Okay.
and they may not be able to advise you correctly.
All right then. So the last question, Shadi, is how much do your services cost?
So if it's just like just a basic return, you're not claiming anything complex. Sorry, like the self-employed income or employment expenses, then it'll just be $40.
Okay, so
If
$40.
you are claiming sorry, the business income or other complex returns, then it could be more, usually 60 to 80.
Okay.
Like as well too, I've had some people say complain that I'm charging them too much.
Mm-hmm.
But I worked for H&R Block for 8 years before going on my own. So for an individual, if they're on a social assistance, like through government programs, uh, for them to file, same as students, it would cost them about $50 to $60. And then at H&R Block, like for newcomers like yourselves, the first year of filing would cost around usually $100. For people with one T4, they would charge about 70 to 80. If you had two T4s, they'll charge closer to 100. If you have sorry, a slip with like with some interest on it, T5, they would normally charge around 190. So like I said, there are people who would complain that I'm charging too much, but they don't really look into it more. I
Okay.
feel I'm very reasonable. Even
Mm-hmm.
some of my clients from H&R Block who've continued on with me, they actually
Okay.
tell me that I'm not charging enough sometimes.
Okay. So again, Shadi, all your services would be $40
Mhm.
for basic income tax filing, but that would be per individual, right? Not as a
Exactly.
couple.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. So it's only, for example, like the student and the husband or this common law partner, right?
Yeah.
But if it's more complex, it will be around $60 to $80.
Yeah, correct.
All right then.
Yeah. See, and sorry, also too, it'll be 40 per person per year. So
Per
again, for
year.
multiple years.
Okay. $40 per person per year. All right then, Shadi. So any other words that you'd like to tell everybody?
So again, just in general with tax filing, like I said before, like people having the misconception about assuming they're going to get a refund back. Because again, many people say to me, it's like, well, everything is the same as my friend. I should get the same thing. But every situation is different. We can never guarantee that we're going to get money back. So even
Mhm.
like, so myself, for example, this year, since I have like employment income plus self-employed income from the taxes and some investments, myself, I'm gonna owe around 5,000.
Okay.
But I'm okay with that because I know what to expect and I already have the money aside. But it's usually it's just more of a shock because people always come in with an expectation. And then like you can never come up with that expectation. They expect it to be the same as their friend, and they expect the return every year to be the same. See, I remember sorry, like 1 year at H&R Block, I had somebody complain that the refund was only $2,200, when in other years they got back 3,500. I explained to them all the reasons, but they were still unsatisfied with that. And at the same time, I had somebody who owed
Mhm.
about who owed close to 2,000, and they were okay with that because in the previous year they owed 3,000.
Okay.
So it all depends on their situation.
All right then. So again, how can we contact you, Shadi? What's the best way to contact you, and usually what times?
Well, so anytime really, because either by the email,
Okay.
by phone, or you can even message me on Facebook as well too,
Okay.
whichever's easiest for you.
All right then.
And then see, timing wise, like I'm usually up late as well too. There's been many times where it's around 2 or 3 a.m. here, and then I'm usually still awake, and I'm responding to individuals as well too.
Okay.
But again, if I don't respond to just any individuals, if I don't respond to you right away, it's likely just I may be at work or just because of the time difference.
Okay
I
then.
just don't want anyone to be upset or anything like that in case there's no response.
All right then. So thank you, Shadi. Thank you so much for your time. And we'll definitely be in touch with you.
Thank you as well for having me.
Okay. All right. So Mike.
Yeah, again, thanks again, Shadi, and once again, thanks again, everyone, for joining and yeah, this all the Q&A questions really informative indeed. And once again, if you have any other questions or if you miss or you want any other follow-up questions, feel free to email us at ubic@pilcom@gmail.com or message us in our Facebook page in ubic@pilcom.com. Otherwise, of course, feel free to reach out, Shadi, if you need any
Yes.
help. And in case I just want to invite you, everyone, again on March 2nd. We will be having again another shots of this session. So please save the date. So whenever you are free, please feel free to join us. Yeah.
Okay. Can you show again Shadi's information, please? Just one more time. People are asking Shadi. All
Sorry,
right.
I know my email is weird. I've had that email since high
Yeah.
school.
Yeah, when you
Okay.
search him in Facebook, it is the same name, Shadi Dada. You can
Yeah.
type Shadi Dada in Facebook. So it is same. That is it is same username that you can see.
And even like, sorry, when you search me on Facebook, you'll probably see me with friends with many other individuals you know from UVic. So you can also
Okay.
verify that way too.
Yes. Okay. Actually, just an FYI, Shadi
Yeah.
has been also our resource speaker since last year, right, Shadi? For
Yeah.
UVic. Yes.
Mm.
So a lot of UVic students has used Shadi as their income tax preparer. Again, his name is Shadi Dada, SHADIDADA. His phone number is 289-339-1349. And his email account is shadula@hotmail.com. All right.
All right.
So
Thanks again, everyone.
thank you again, Shadi. Thank you, everyone.
Anytime.
Yes, and yeah, February 19th. You'll hear a lot from us, Shadi.
Honestly, it comes around very quickly every year.
Okay. Yes. Oh, okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks, everyone. God bless.
God bless. Bye, Shadi.
You guys have a good night.
You too. Good night in
Yeah.
Great weekend.
Hamilton. Yes.
Thank you.
Oh,
Once.
sure.
Okay. Oh, by the way, can we take a photo? Just a quick photo. All right then. People are already leaving.
Okay, one.
All right.
Ikaw ba nag-screenshot?
I'm
Okay,
doing the
no problem.
screenshot.
Okay,
No
yeah,
problem.
everyone, if anyone here, if you can still open your camera.
No problem. Yes. Thank you so much for attending. Okay, I'll just do the screenshot. Thank you. Thank you, Shadi. By the way, what the time is in Ontario now?
I'm 3 hours ahead of you guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 12 already, I think.
No, this is early for me.
Oh, you're a night owl. Okay. Anyway, thank
Yeah,
you
well,
again, Shadi.
especially during tax season, I'll be up probably until 3 a.m. or so.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Enjoy the rest of your day, guys.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you and bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.